there's nothing good out there. The employment reports are just dreadful. And that's why they ran the market up yesterday. It was up 122 today at 79.57. And it's going to test 76, 72 down in that area very shortly. And there's a good chance it'll break it. And if it doesn't do it, then it'll do it in the fall or earlier. I mean, the earnings aren't there. You've got social and political problems all over the world. And, of course, the world is essentially bankrupt. Look, the United States government, major banks, major brokerage houses, they're all bankrupt. But it's not only here, it's throughout the world. No one's going to escape this thing. The only safe haven, now that we're in depression and we still have inflation and we're going to get more of it, it's silver and gold. And then when we reach that place where deflation takes over, you'll keep enough silver coins for barter, depending upon your needs, 1 bag, 3 bags, whatever it is. And everything should be, at that time, rolled into bullion coin. And I've done a lot of study on this. When is that? I don't know. 6 months, a year, 2 years? It's hard to say. We don't know when they're going to pull the plug in entirety. I mean, this is being planned. This is deliberate. And, my talking about this way has been picked up by a number of stations. I'm starting to do shows in places like Fresno and Jersey City and, people who have been afraid to talk about it who are radio announcers, hosts. And people in that industry are coming out of the woodwork. And I think that the public's going to catch on here probably when we get to about 2000. And when that buying starts to come in, just hold your hat because the sky's the limit. Because the American public still is not in gold and silver related assets. They're just not. I mean, if 3 or 4% are in, that's big. But when all is said and done, we'll have about 20% in, maybe more. It all depends on the situation. And, gold's going to go crazy. And you got to be there. I've been after everybody for years, and particularly when we went back to 470, if you remember listening at that time, I said we'll never see $470 gold again. This is it, your last stop to get it here. And Melody was overwhelmed with orders. And we were right. And it's happening again. And it'll happen again from different other levels. It's a chance of a lifetime. It's the biggest bull market in history. And, there's no real downside to it. I mean, once the central banks are totally out of gold or refuse to sell anymore, then what's going to happen is it's just going to explode. And most of the demand is investment demand. It's not jewelry. Jewelry demand has dropped, and that's understandable. The price of gold is high in relation to consumer consumption, but it's certainly not high in respect to real inflation since 1980. Gold should be $6,000 an ounce. It will get there. And these people behind the scenes will try, and they're already putting up the propaganda. J.P. Morgan Chase, Citigroup, and now Merrill Lynch. Merrill Lynch came out today and said, gold is going up to 1,100 or something like that. It's in today's issue, in the gold section. The comment was, we fear it is going there. Don't give me a break, will you? As if they could control anything. Merrill Lynch is bankrupt. I mean, why else would government give you money if you weren't bankrupt? Because they didn't want you to go under. the entities that are in opposition to higher gold prices are now admitting to 2,000, and they want to hold it there. Now, how they're going to do that, I'll never know, because they're not going to get many sellers. People who have been buying over the last 8 years that I've been pounding my head on the table and my fist, they're not going to get out. They know where they're going, and they've got a handful of people who have guided them there, like myself, and they're not going to sell until I think it's time, and maybe they'll never sell. I mean, look at the last time around in the 30s, we had gold. It went up when everything else went down. Everything else went down 60 to 100%. Gold didn't. It went up. Old home stake went from $36 to $630 a share. So there's going to be giant amounts of money made. And there are people who are going to be able to, when the smoke is cleared, be able to take their gold and buy blocks of real estate, whole subdivisions. I mean, it'll be incredible. The buying power that you're going to have. And so you got to be buyers, and I believe me, I know what I'm talking about. We've been so right, and I thank God for that. Believe me, because no one has been more fortunate in predictions than I have. I'll tell you that. I mean, that newsletter. There's no other newsletter in history that can come close. Overall with the recommendations, not only in investment but everything else. And there's got to be a divine hand there someplace. Nobody is that smart, and that's me included. But anyway, the Dow is headed down, gold is headed up, silver is headed up, and I got a question here. This question is from Jim. The subject is the uptick rule effect in precious metal shares. And this is for the Melody Cedarstrom Golden Diva radio show. Excuse me. Will you please discuss the past effect, the elimination of the uptick rule is that on PM shares, and the expected effect of its reinstitution will have on the shares? Well, I'll explain that as simply as I can. The rule used to say you can short a stock that it's going to go down. But once you put your order in, let's say you put your order in to bet General Motors is going to go down and it's selling for $30 a share, it has to trade higher than that before your short can be executed. In other words, before you can sell your stock that you don't own. I hope that's not confusing, but you had to wait for an uptick. So if the trade was at 30, your order goes in and it trades at 30 and an eighth, then you can then sell your stock. Now, they did away with that rule. And what that rule did is it brought order to the market. It kept big combines from going in and smashing stocks. The reason the rule was changed is that Wall Street wasn't making enough money, so they wanted to make more by screwing the public, so they did away with the uptick rule, which has been in existence, I think, since 1933. Very important. And so they're talking about reinstituting it, which I think it will. They will. And that will make all stocks stronger, not just precious metal stocks. And so it's a good rule. And I saw some of the hearings today in regard to the efficiency and proficiency of the Securities Exchange Commission And the fellow who was being interviewed, there was two of them, and one of them was asked about their performance. He said, well, look, I don't see any, criminal intent, but I just see massive incompetency. And he said they should be incentivized, which means that they should be given extra money if they bring cases and they're successful in prosecuting people. And I don't agree with that. I don't think that that's necessary. The way to solve the incompetency problem